Well, good morning, Joshua TV followers, and happy Saturday. Had to get the supplies, my caboodle boxes that have all my snaps and twist locks and all whatnots need to be restocked. Plus, the CCU is supposed to go in for service. It's due for an oil change. And the one thing about these ambulance rigs from Wheeled Coach and Ford in this area, they have a really weird rear axle on it. And the numbskulls have stripped, the tire store stripped one of the damn studs. And guess what? Trying to find a stud for that axle is near impossible. Well, it's impossible. We haven't found any. Everybody says, oh yeah, I got one, and then it won't fit. This is a 91, I think. 91 E350. Great rig, we love it. But it's got to go in for oil change, check it for leaks, charge up my AC, give it the once over. We just don't have time. I just don't have time. Because I have big boats. Big boats. This is a Doral, which is a Canadian-made boat that has a flat tire. And another one, I think this one is out at Colville Bay, is where he slips this boat. And he's getting a Bimini, forward and rear. So of course we start out. I already had the frame. The secondary pole was down below and the screws were missing. So we got him some screws and we got that back on there. And then we are just at the point of... Alright, what I did, I started by replacing the ketter. And then I bind a zipper. And then sew that glue and double sew that to the ketter with clearance for the slider. That's only 1 inch binding. And this is the linen tweed, and that's one 10-foot zipper that goes all the way up and over to the other side. I used it, looks like it had an enclosure because it has snaps here and over here, right there. So that was I kind of figured they measured out well, so that's where we're going with the top. Same thing with the forward. It had snaps in it here and here. There's holes, there's no snaps. So that's where we're taking the Bimini, from here to the other side where the snap starts. And then of course finding the center. That hole is not factory. That hole is off a little. And staple, that's where I'm at. I've decided I'd go get the camera and capture some of this. For those who are not quite sure, if you have a ketter, how do you fasten? How do you figure out what that crest is as it comes down? And it's a multiple different kind of angles, and what's the algebra to figure that out? I mean, it can be very, very daunting to figure out, how am I going to sew that line? How do I know? With your P3 stapler, that's how you know. And what I'll do is, with a good sharp pair of scissors, now as I run around the corner and down the slope, I'm going to pull this to the inside. And then as we go around the corner, I will start to trim this away with the scissors, so I can keep monkey biting stapling all the way on around the corner. And then I'll pull the clamps tight. I'll pull the sag out by pulling the clamps tight. Alright, of course, we start in the middle and we start to staple out a little bit, and then I clamp in the middle and then pull against these couple of staples up here that way and that way to try and triangulate and get it straight with the boat just in this triangle. So we're clamped center, we're clamped in a corner, and stapled down a dozen or so, half a dozen up here to the ketter. And then I start to chase, but I'm not, when I get to the hard bend, because remember the zipper has like 8 different weaves in the tape, and it will go around a corner. So I don't want to chase that weave. I'm going to go every 4-6 inches, probably every 4. So I got one there. I hate it when my screen goes black and I can't see what you're seeing. One there. One there. See how it's not like it is up here. When it's straight, you can just and pull those right together just like you'd be sewing it. Nice little stitches going across there. But when you start to get around the corner, you don't want to chase the wrinkle in the tape around the corner. You want to absorb a little bit of wrinkle every staple as we go around the corner. And then I come back with the, well, I start with the rough trim, a good, well, whatever the throat of the stapler is, 2-3 fingers from my suspected line. Don't cut yourself short as you're working your way around. And then I go back for the secondary trim, which is pretty darn close to right on the money. See, I've only trimmed away just that little bit. And then that's, now I'll go back and finish the monkey bite, getting this nice and snug all the way around, pulling that nice line out. And for me, if I need a dart, if this is going so high that I start to see I need a dart right here, it's too high. Lower it. If you've got just a little bit of tension, I got some crown fore to aft. So that's what I need. I need it to be laying on here so I can zipper pouch to it and hold on to this bar. But if that bar is so high that it's causing you to have to dart right there, it looks silly from the dock. Flatten it out, get a nice flat line going over. You need just enough. If it starts to dart, that's too much. Saves you so much time, cleans up the look, makes your zipper line, when you go to do an enclosure, makes your zipper line a lot straighter. So my advice to you, flatten your tops out. They look wonderful when you do that. Personally, on this boat, I would have set the aft higher, but that's not what he paid for. He just paid for a reskin, and that's what we're going to give him, as a nice looking reskin. So the other thing I did was added all the clamps to the back. Now that I've got more staples up along the front line, I can pull snug a little bit more to get that nice tension in it and make it conform to that nice going over the edge, so I can mark my side reveal and get that nice flat line. So that's where we're at right now. I'll continue on. I'll shoot a little bit more footage before we take it to the table. Flexi-rail is plastic and can be bent and formed with a heat gun. And awning track is usually aluminum and has a flange to drive screws through. So there you go, Flexi-rail and awning track. So we started with the ketter rope. We sewed a number 10 YKK zipper to it that had been bound on one side. The blade side always. I don't put the pull on the boat. The pull always comes off with the panel or the bimini, if that makes sense. So if it's a really nice day and they decide to take the bimini off completely, I don't have a pull over here jingling in the wind. That's just how I do it. Makes sense. But anyway, the bimini tools are my straight pins. And this webbing is the really low density, so that the pins go through it really easy. And then, just like they do in the Sailrite videos with the tape, they set the height with tape. Well, I just do it with the, we do so many of these, we'd go through a ton of tape. So we just use the straps and the straight pins. But this one is ready to go. We have marked there. We've got all the staples all the way up and around. We have marked the back. Try not to fall off the boat. Got that line all the way around the corner. And the side reveals are marked. Of course, the zipper is pretty easy to figure out. It's right where the zipper ends. But then over here in the back, it looks like they had snaps for the Bimini and then one for the enclosure. So we're going to come in right between them. And then when we get it flat on the table, we'll scribe that line all the way up to the front. And ignore, as like I said, as long as there's not a dart happening here, I'm happy. If I have to put in a dart, that means this one's too tall. And especially with a tweed. With a tweed, it just ruins the lines of the boat. So there we go. Let's get the boat stripped and off to the table for fabrication. And you gotta be thinking, man, that looks like crap. That's not gonna look very good on the boat. But if you take the averages, you can see where it bumps in and out. And we know the radar arch doesn't do that. We know it's a smooth transition. So it's the averages. But you have to sew it down tooth for tooth where it is. You can't be moving or chasing a wrinkle out. You can't do that. Don't do that. You need to sew right up to the staple. Take that staple out. Take in any, again, this is a lot of stitch ripper, forcing these wrinkles into the foot as you're going around the corner and being nice and tight on it, because that's where it was on the boat. If you change it, when you try to put it back on the boat, it ain't gonna fit. Ask me how I know. Ask me. Because it doesn't work. So all these wrinkles have to be sewn into this top. If those wrinkles aren't sewn in, it's not gonna fit. So make sure you absorb those as you're going around the corner. Once you get to the center, look at the center, there aren't any. But going around the corner, these teeth have to, when we turn them over and face them back toward the Kenner, all those ugly wrinkles will be sewn flat underneath. They won't look that ugly. You'll see. So I'm going to start here at the starter and start pulling staples and sewing it down exactly where it is and trimming away all the excess. Thanks for following along. All right, there's our first pass, trimmed, sewn, and burnt stoutly. Anytime you have a raw edge next to a zipper, burn it hard. Now we're going to fold it over and sew it again. All right, we made the second pass, sewed it down nice and tight to the zipper. Let's see how it flattens out most of those wrinkles. But it'll match that curve on the radar arch very nicely. We've installed the pull with the locking mechanism on the underside, of course, and installed the mechanical stop so that if the tang ever comes off the pull or for whatever reason the slider needs to be replaced, they can just pop that stop off the end and replace it. So now we're going to roll it out, trim the aft section and the two sides, and get ready to make zipper pouches. All right, here we are with the Doral top, and we have trimmed away using the Susie magnet trick. So we have a 1/2 inch seam allowance. These two pieces are the, let me flip this out of the way. That's the top. These are the two pieces that were cut away from the side reveal. All that shaggy I had hanging on the sides, that's the semi-flat felt back together. And then that will be my zipper pouch for the Bimini. the rear zipper pouch. Now, on many instances, it's too small. The side drops are too small. But this one will work out just dandy. I line up the center seams, and then I'll trace that out, mark the ends, take the Sailrite ruler and make a 4-inch zipper pouch. That's where we're at now. All right, Joshua TV followers, it's Saturday. Got this humongous Doral, and we got the rear Bimini finished. Rear Bimini is done. Got a little valance on there in case they decide to go to an enclosure. We have a place to put a zipper. He did not get zippers on him for this round. And these straps are just holding the front pole up. And then we'll do the same thing on the front with the clamp it, pull it back, and staple it to the zipper. We'll have to start trimming this away, but I gotta leave long tails because it goes back. So you can see I've got plenty there to get this nice and straight on the boat, but I got some company coming over and we're gonna call it a day. We got most everything put away, got the tables covered up. Hope y'all have a great weekend. Thanks for following along.